Hi, in this video we're going to talk about creating symbols and instances. Now, explaining symbols and instances before we get an actual see what they do is a little tough. So let's go and make something, convert it into a symbol, and then work with the instances to really demonstrate what it does. It's about keeping file size down is one of the big reasons. So we're going to create a new HTML5 canvas. I'm going to save this one. I'm going to save it into this one. It's going to be called 19A. 19A is, remember, just my sequence that I'm using for my videos, and I'm going to call this one Symbols Instances. Great. So first thing I do, I'm going to change we're going to be drawing a little space alien. Not sure why, but a spacey kind of blue for the background. Great. We're going to draw with, we draw with the pencil tool before. Now we're going to draw with the paintbrush tool. The difference is that this one here, the paintbrush tool, actually paints around with strokes. This one here, very similar to the pencil tool. And we're going to use the brush tool. This brush tool paints with fills. Okay, so we're going to kind of like fill in the center mass of our little alien. I'm going to pick a fill color, make sure there's no stroke. And brush size, okay, you can see it probably starts off down here where it's quite thin, and I'm going to crease it up so it's quite big, even thicker than that. Okay, maximum size. So can it go any bigger? No, that's about it. Okay, that's big enough size for me, and the smoothing is at 50, just means it's gonna kind of, watch this when I let go, it just eases off the edges here. Actually, I'm gonna go to 100. Yeah, try and make it look as nice as I can. So I'm gonna draw a little alien. Okay, it's pretty exciting. Now I could go and paint this all in, but I could use the fill, okay, the paint bucket tool here. It's going to fill the same color. Just fill that center in. Go back to my paintbrush. There was a little gap there. Okay, I'm going to give it little antennas. I'm going to give him some feet, and I'm going to give him an eye. I'm going to paint straight over the top. Am I going to use the circle tool? No, I'll use the paintbrush tool all the way through. I'm going to draw a circle. And I should be drawing it separately, okay, and drawing this on afterwards, but I'm not. Grab that color, black, let's get in the center, let's go back to white, let's give this a little sparkle. Look. Okay, so little alien-y thing. Okay, next thing I want to do is I'd like to convert him into a symbol. Why are we going to do this? I'm going to select them all and transform him, make him smaller because he's a bit big at the moment because I want lots of them on the page. So I'm going to go to my free transform tool. Yours might be hidden under the gradient transform tool because we used that earlier in the course. So you might have to click and hold it, hold, and grab the free transform tool. What key do I hold down to reshape it? The height and width sticks. That's right, Shift. Okay, and I'm going to drag it down so he's a bit more, a smaller part of this document here. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, and what I want to do is I want to use them loads and loads, and what I could do is I could copy and paste them. So go to edit, copy, and edit, paste. Okay, and I could keep pasting these ones and have lots of them. The problem with it with Adobe Animate is that it's going to be the computer's not going to see them as the same. They're going to be separate things, and they're going to be, say this one here is 1 kilobyte, this one here is going to make it 2 kilobytes and 3 kilobytes. It's going to kind of multiply by how many times you paste it. So what we want to do is use a trick where we use something called a symbol and an instance. So what we do is we select them all, okay, and we go up to here to modify, and we go this one that says convert to symbol. Okay, and most of the time we're going to use this one called a movie clip, so make sure it's set to movie clip and nothing else. We're going to name it. Okay, it's really common as well, call it MC at the beginning, then underscore. Okay, so MC is for movie clip. You don't have to add this, but it's really helpful later on when you're trying to work out who is what. Okay, so movie clip underscore, and then call this one alien. And actually, no, I'm going to call him Bob. And so what's happened now is that he's been converted into what's called a symbol. And that symbol only exists in your library here. So I've switched to my library, and there is MC Bob. Okay, so he sits in my library. And now there's one instance of Bob on my desktop here. It's like a parent and child relationship. So in my library is the symbol, he's the parent. The one that are on my stage here are the children, or they're called instances. And the cool thing about it is you can drag, by dragging this little icon here, the little gear icon, okay, you can drag out lots of instances of Bob. Now, the difference between what we did before from copying and pasting is that what Adobe Animate are able to do is that it can reference the same, so it loads Bob, okay, MC Bob as a symbol, and say it is, let's say it's 3 kilobytes for argument's sake. Now it's able to replicate MC Bob as instances of them loads and loads of times without multiplying how big the 3 kilobytes from Bob. So it'll be very minimal in terms of, I could put 100 of these out here and it wouldn't be multiplying that 3 kilobytes over and over again. That's one of the big reasons we have these things called symbols and their instances on the stage. There's a couple of things we can do to instances, because at the moment they look very samey. So there's some things we can do to it, and there's the things we can't do to it. So we can rotate it, change the color, change the transparency. We can do that, no problem, because it's essentially the same thing with a little bit of a filter on top. What we can't do is we couldn't have one of the aliens looking like this and another one with a mustache, another one with a hat. Why? Because they are physically different. You'd need different symbols in here. So the instances can only be like topically changed when they're on the stage. Now, when we'd use a symbol in instance, there's a couple of things. Obviously when it's being used more than once, so even if it's just twice, okay, we're gonna have this big limit when we get to publishing in terms of file size. It's about 150 kilobytes, and that's a real big pain if you're using images. So we're going to try and use as much as we can or reuse some of these symbols to keep the file size down. So that's one use. The other reason we'd use a movie clip or the symbol in instance is that we have to use it when we're doing classic tween and doing animations in the next video. So if we want to animate anything that's not a shape tween like we did earlier, want to move them across the screen, we have to use this one. So pretty much everything gets converted into a symbol, but these are the perks. It keeps the file size down. All right, let's go to the next video where we look to adjust these guys to